Big questions for the fantasy playoffs and beyond next on Fantasy Football Today in 5. Welcome to FFT in 5. I'm Chris Towers here with Dave Richard. And like I said, we're going to talk about some big questions, both for week 15, week 16 for those of you who are on a bye. And hey, we know some of you sadly got eliminated from the playoffs or from playoff contention last week, but hope you're still listening. We're going to try to keep you guys engaged as well. So we're going to have some questions for next year as well. But first, let's talk about week 15. And Dallas Goedert and Darren Waller are targeting week 15 for their returns from IR. That's two pretty big name tight ends who you probably want to get in your lineup. But here's the question. Which tight ends would you definitely start over Goedert and Waller if they play? And obviously, they're different levels there because Goddard's a lot better than Darren Waller.
Absolutely. And Goedert, for me, would be a top 3 tight end.
Mm-hmm.
I would debate him versus Dalton Schultz in full PPR. I think in non-PPR, it might be Goedert right behind Travis Kelce. Just 1 and 2. Seems like he's safe. Definitely has plenty of upside. We've seen it from him for lots of this season. I do worry a little bit about Goddard's first game back, but it's against Chicago, and that's a matchup that I think the Eagles can exploit pretty much any way they want to. I will be much more hesitant on Darren Waller. Do not expect him to come back and see full allotment of snaps, running 40 routes and dominating target share. I don't think that's going to happen. He will probably be closer to 12th. I would start Dulcich, Gerald Everett, Cole Kmet, Pat Freiermuth, all comfortably ahead of Darren Waller.
What about George Kittle on Thursday night?
You know something? I went back and I started to look at how Kittle has done without Deebo Samuel on the field, and the answer is great. And you look at Brock Purdy's track record in college, he threw to tight ends a lot. He started last week's game throwing to Kittle quite a bit. I don't have Kittle currently, as we sit here talking now, ranked. I've got him 9th, but I could see myself moving him as high as 4th this week, just because I'm excited about the potential against Seattle and because there's no Deebo Samuel on the field.
All right, on the other side of that game, question 2 for week 15. Start or sit Geno Smith versus San Francisco on Thursday. And would you start Brock Purdy over Geno Smith?
I would not start Brock Purdy over Geno Smith. I'm worried about Purdy's just the number of pass attempts he's going to have. And so far, when we've watched him play, almost every throw he's made has been short, inside of 15 air yards. That seems to be what they're asking him to do. When he has thrown deep, he's been good. But I think it's 5 pass attempts that have gone 15 or more air yards out of the 67 that he's thrown for 2 games. That is not a lot. That worries me a little bit. Geno, on the other hand, does throw downfield a lot. He was miserable in week 2 against San Francisco. He's actually put up some great numbers over his past 5 games, at least 23 fantasy points, and he's seen a lot of pressure in every single one of those games. So he's learning how to beat that. I think he'll be a handful for this 49ers defense. Am I ready to rank him where I had him last week as a top 5 fantasy quarterback? No. As a matter of fact, as we sit here now, he's 12th for me, but I might move him into the top 12. I think he's earned some credibility based on how he's done this season. It is a difficult matchup. The only 2 times this year the 49ers have allowed a quarterback to get over 20 fantasy points is when their defense was beat up. Their defense is not that beat up going into this game against Seattle on a short week.
All right, one question for people who are on a bye this week. Give me some players to target ahead of next week, looking ahead to week 16, week 17, trying to beat the waiver wire since you don't need to win this week.
I would go get Khalil Herbert, who's available in over 60% of leagues. He's on IR. I think he's going to end up splitting right back to where he was with David Montgomery earlier this year. That was about a 40% snap share, and he could end up overtaking him completely. You don't know what the Bears are going to do. They might want to give him a look, knowing that David Montgomery is a free agent after this season ends. At wide receiver, much more plentiful, and it's names like Treylon Burks, DJ Chark, McCole Hardman, who's out there in 65% of leagues. But here's a name all the way back from September, Chris. Jahan Dotson, available in almost 70% of leagues. I don't love him this week, but I do think he's got some potential to help you. I am stashing him on a bunch of my benches. DSTs, the Titans are going to be very popular, but they're also 30% available. They play Houston in week 16. The Broncos, their next 2 games, Cardinals with no Kyler Murray, and the Rams in week 16 with Baker Mayfield. They're 56% available. You could use them for the next 2 weeks and get some good production out of them.
All right. And One last question for those of us with, I've got a couple of leagues where I'm out already. So looking
Me
ahead to
too.
2023, and I know from before the show, you don't love this question because you haven't figured it out yet. But real
No
quick
clue.
off the top of your head, top 3 picks in 2023 drafts are?
I think that people are going to gravitate towards safety in 2023, and they're not necessarily going to want to fill the running back position immediately. And I look at everybody that's out there. I think the safest player to draft in 2023 is going to be Justin Jefferson. So in a PPR league, he will probably be my number 1. And then I don't know if I can go with Christian McCaffrey at number 2. We'll see. He's been so great. It's just a matter of how old can he be and still be effective. I guess I would put, dude, I'm doing this totally off the top of my head. I'll put McCaffrey 2, and then I'll put the Browns DST 3.
All right, I love it. Browns DST, big up. No, you know what? Justin Jefferson, Cooper Kupp, Travis Kelce, some order. That's my top 3. Penciling in right now. Let's go.
Okay.
34-year-old Travis Kelce.
I don't hate that at all. So no running backs for you in your top 3.
Not right
or
now.
You haven't even thought about which running backs.
I mean, Austin Eckler, we'll see where Josh Jacobs goes. We'll see what the 49ers offense looks like, with Christian McCaffrey. So I think there's a lot of moving pieces at running back that make it a little more difficult to say right now. So,
dude, there are so many running backs that are going to be 29 and 30 years old. There are so many great young running backs that are coming off of torn ACLs.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a landmine position next year.
Fascinating times. I look forward to debating it for about 6 months starting on January 5th or whenever the offseason starts. So that's going to do it for FFT and 5. We'll see you tomorrow with more Week 15 talk.